Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the SWW show. It is me, AJ. I am here with Eric from Vertigo Gaming, the makers of Cook Serve Delicious 3, which is now available on early access through Steam and Good Old Games. And if you've never seen Cook Serve Delicious, I highly recommend checking it out. It is by far the only game franchise I've ever played that induces anxiety. And coming from somebody that never has anxiety problems, Cook Serve Delicious is always a game that I feel like I need to do better and have to do better, and it drives that. But yeah, Eric, it is great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, AJ. I definitely feel you on the anxiety part. It's funny how many different emotions the game brings about. Hunger, obviously, not an emotion, but like a feeling. Hunger is definitely one of them. Anxiety seems to be like one of the top two as well. And then, of course, there's just all the silliness and the alternate reality lore that some people have been involved for a long time with because of them digging into it in CSD2, and it just wasn't really at the forefront, and that's kind of what we're doing with 3.
Yeah, I never played 2. I don't know why. I played the first one, and I've played the third one here for a little bit, and I will say the only reason I got into it, like, this game was never on my radar until all of a sudden I was scrolling through YouTube, and I saw this thing called a Quick Look from a company called Giant Bomb. I'm like, alright, that's a very interesting name. Cook Serve Delicious, that's an interesting title for a game. Let me check it out. And that led me into the hole that is Cook Serve Delicious 1. And now talking to you with CSD3.
And David, the creator, would tell you that Giant Bomb coverage was the thing that sort of turned it around for him. And at the time for the series, it really wasn't selling that well at that point, going into that point. And David Galindo, my boss and the lead developer at Vertigo Gaming Inc. and the creator of Cook Serve Delicious, he had released other games before that, and then he released CSD1, and it was going okay, but it wasn't anything to say, oh, I've got a hit here, or I can keep. And more or less, he was considering, this maybe being the end of his, game development kind of career at that point. I'm not sure if he was never going to develop anything ever again, but he was, financially it wasn't working out, he said. And then the Giant Bomb coverage happened, and the rest was kind of history in terms of how much visibility that got the game. That was back in the day when if you got a YouTube video, the people would immediately go and just buy it. That's not how it kind of works anymore. So there was a lot of direct sales from that Giant Bomb coverage. So it's really interesting to hear you say that, because that is a quintessential point in our company's time in our history.
Yeah, it's always cool when you can point to, like, this is the one thing. This is, like, in an alternate universe, this video never gets made, and, as you say, it's the end of CSD, but we're living in, at least for your point of view, for this specific instance, the perfect timeline. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people in this world that say we're not living in the best timeline, but
no, I think that it's you're right. If that didn't work out, CSD 2 and 3 would never have existed. So most likely, almost certainly. So and CSD 1 would never have gotten kind of the notoriety. Obviously, that in turn, or going retroactively, CSD 1 not getting the attention it got, or it has received. That would have changed everything for sure as far as the franchise goes. It just wouldn't have gone this far, because a lot of our work on CSD 2 and 3 are in response to the fan base of 1, or of the original game. So there's a clamoring for more, and that's what kind of leads us back to it. Although I do believe that this will be the final game in the series, at least the proper 1, 2, 3. I don't know if there's going to be 4. I wouldn't outright say it's impossible because, anything's possible, but our plan is to wrap this up and then move on to a completely different genre, to keep a completely different title, all new title, different game.
Well, I mean, everything's better in threes. Like 4 just feels weird.
It's true. It's one of those things that we play with it to see. Is it? We know it's a pretty popular indie game or indie franchise, but you kind of question how much resources you put into it, if it's really that popular, or is it going to keep selling if we keep pushing out to new audiences and try to reach out to further people, because nobody ever knows about your indie game. It's so weird, man. Like you can have so much coverage, and every time they go, oh my gosh, they're making a Cook Serve Delicious 3, and we've been shouting this from the rooftops for the last year.
Yeah.
But that's just not how the world works unless you have a huge marketing budget, which we just do, millions of dollars to push out your game to everyone. Indies don't have that. So unless you're basically Minecraft pre-Microsoft, that was the only indie, maybe a couple others that you could ever say, hey, they saturated the market. I mean, they really got to the point where they everyone knew about them. That's an impossible, rare thing to happen for an indie. So it's always about, for us, okay, is this still interesting to people? Is this reaching new audiences? Like, will we make attempts to do so? And 2 and 3 were just, especially 3. I think 2 was appreciated. We didn't stick the landing with 2 like I feel like we're doing with 3 right now, because we went the early access route for 3. That of course gives you a little bit of wiggle room when you release your game. It's not as set in stone. And really no PC game at 1.0 needs to be thought of like that anymore. But it just gives us the ability. We still have some content to add. First half of the game is pretty much in there. Cutscenes are in there. Did you get a chance to jump on and play yet? I'm not sure. I know I got you a code.
Yep, I've had a chance to play, and I do like how it seems like, at least in 1 and out of 3, this game tackles all of the current fads in food. Like 3 is in a food truck, which are huge. It's got a bunch of avocado dishes, which is for some reason huge. It just like, in a way, it's almost like calling out like these food fads, which I love. I love when games do that. They're just like, they make fun of, but also like it's enjoyable.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. I'm not going to confirm or deny that we were like thinking of that specifically, because the food truck was just this sort of divine vessel that we came up with when we were like, what do we do to do a world map situation of the United States? Like, how are we going to traverse that area? Because that would be before. I think maybe food truck was first in David's mind, but I remember the conversation being like, we want to do this. I don't know if we said traveling even, but just like, hey, there's this, there's this war-torn United States lore that we built up. Can we visit these places as the cook, as the chef? And then the food truck just sort of was the most sensical thing, like logical thing. It just was like, what else would it be, right? So it was that a lot of people mistook it for like a train at first. It was like in the videos and stuff we were showing, like, no, it's not a train. That wouldn't make any sense. I mean, I guess you could do it, but yeah, the food truck to me was, what other choice did we have? So that was kind of my thought on the food truck, was like, that just makes the most sense. And then our writers and David took the idea of the robot war, blue war situation that we had come up with in the alternate reality of Cook Serve Delicious 2. And okay, we're gonna have a robot driver and gunner for you to get through this sort of post-apocalyptic U.S. and get to these different areas that are kind of run down or changed dramatically from the current reality, and all to endeavor towards the food truck championships or the Olympics, however you want to describe it, in Nashville, Tennessee, which is the current capital of the U.S. So that's just sort of, it all kind of came together with the idea of, yeah, the food truck just made the most sense. There's nothing else there that fills that role of getting the cook through different areas and all that. And then it just made a more interesting campaign. Two is lacking in that department significantly, and we really wanted to remedy that in 3. We wanted people to feel like they had a really robust and interesting campaign to play through, as opposed to just the chef for hire modes and things of that sort.
I will say, as a resident of Michigan, I'm glad Michigan survived this this post-apocalypse, because inevitably the state sometimes gets left off maps. It's still the funniest thing. Like, so there's a subreddit called Maps Without New Zealand, which is hilarious.
Right.
I've also, like, I want to create one where it's like maps of the U.S. without Michigan, because it is a state that almost everybody knows what it looks like.
Right.
But for some reason, illustrators, I guess, have a stroke when they get to Michigan and just, like, blob it instead of... It's like, dude, just put your hand down and then just trace your hand.
Right.
That's pretty accurate. But yeah, I do like that it's one of the surviving states. Also, Nashville being the capital makes 100% sense when your world is food.
Right. Yeah, I think I have to look. The Northwest is in really bad shape. That's where I'm from. I know Canada. I think Canada maybe annexed us. I'm not quite sure about that, but yeah. There's a lot of different. The lore is so thick. Ryan and Nick, the 2 writers of the game, are so just. They do not need to go this hard, but they do, and they add so much to a cooking game that never deserved this. You know what I mean? Like never deserved this kind of lore and stuff. Yeah. This is why 3 really manifested, was because the emails they did in 2 were just, I mean, over the top. Ton of thought put into them. Obviously humor was the main component, but it was also just, kind of brazenly saying that this was the truth of the matter. And you'll see this if you look at some of the food descriptions in 3, and it's just the alternate reality truth, which is just, a bald-faced lie about, like, the history of certain foods and stuff, So that's what's great about it. They just went for it. David loved it. We just really appreciate that part of the game, because 3 wouldn't be what it is without that. We couldn't bring that to the forefront. David always had it in his head that it was like in the not the immediate future, but kind of like 20, 40 years into the future, and things had kind of changed dramatically in certain ways, but obviously things had more or less stayed the same in other ways, because in CSD1, you in 2, you don't even think about the fact that it's a different era. You just think that, it's people coming in looking like they got their cell phones, eating food. Yeah. And so it was important to kind of hit that right to get into 3 and get into all the different stuff we got into. We brought in voice actors for the robot assistants, and did cutscenes and things that we would just haven't done for the series yet, that we thought, if we're gonna make a third game, it has to be, the gameplay has to feel fresh and, obviously familiar, but still fresh. Otherwise, why would we make a sequel, a third game? And then, 2, can we really lean into some of the lore and the bonkers aspects that people aren't necessarily aware of. A lot of people didn't even, we have a lot of comments that, so why is it post-apocalyptic now? And, we point back to the fact that it was always that way. Yeah.
I will say, speaking to the gameplay, Cook Serve Delicious is one of the few games that makes me memorize a keyboard.
Right.
And surprisingly, I know where more keys are located because of this game than any typing class I ever took as a kid.
Yeah, typing games do that for me as well. I also think that I like the what's really underrated about David's design of the game is that he'll put names on certain types of food. So like cheeseburgers, will have a variety of different names, right, to associate. So the rookie player sees a Ryan Davis and doesn't know what that is and has to go one by one through the ingredients. But the 15th, 20th time you do that, you just see Ryan Davis. You don't think about looking at the individual ingredients anymore.
Yeah.
And that way, that's a really cool thing to me. I know veteran players know about that. I don't think people who haven't played the game before or just kind of rookies think about how you can kind of level up with intelligence. If you simply are aware of what the game gives you, you can become a better player.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a shorthand that you have to learn.
Right, which cooks absolutely would do. So that's same with bartenders, right? After a while, you're not going to be looking up the drinks ingredients one by one because that just takes too long and it's annoying. Like you want to know, what
you know how to make a white Russian. You know how to make a
exactly. Yeah. What's a white Russian? I know what it is. Slap it together, send it out. Not that's the veteran bartender, right? So that's always something that I think flies under the radar with why the game, because the game seems so hard, right? It's always like, oh, I'm always getting pushed to the brink on this. It obviously doesn't feel like that way all the time in 1 and 2 in the earlier rounds and shifts. But in 3, it's going to be pretty intense most of the time. Like,
yes,
you probably stop. Yeah.
Yep. I didn't even medal the first level at first.
Well, I mean, you didn't play 2, you said, right? And
correct.
So if you didn't play 2, the holding stations are new to you, which is what we added into those kind of multi-food hoppers up at the top. So that's something you kind of have to add into your muscle memory of the game. That takes a little bit of time, I think, to get used to because I know when I started, you get a lot of those holding station optional foods. They're the yellow with the yellow icon on them, and that basically means you should be basically using them holding stations to make 6 of them at a time or whatever. But you can make them one at a time, and if you're not paying attention, that's basically what you're going to do is make them one at a time. If you're not like refilling your holding stations like you're supposed to, so it's a whole new element to the game that we added in 2 that does take some time, I think, to get sort of up to speed on and included in your routine of every day, of like the shifts and such.
Yeah, it wasn't so much the holding stations. I got those down pretty quick. It was the introduction of the robot of, just hit control and it'll take care of everything. Suddenly all my holding stations are empty and I've got 7 orders lined up. And I'm like, oh, now I see.
Right, and it's a game of speed at this point. Like we wanted to, the idea is the top. We didn't want to obviously make it so hard that new players couldn't come in and enjoy it, and obviously not obviously, but maybe you saw the chill mode, which is the opposite of the anxiety-driven gameplay of the standard fare. It's like he takes out the patience meter entirely. You have all day to put together the food, and you just enjoy it. And we had a Zen mode in CSD2 that this is sort of pulled from. That a certain percentage of our players really appreciate those modes. So I'm glad that those are in. For everyone else who really kind of likes to bite into that anxiety-driven sandwich, like that big challenge, we wanted to make it so that they could get as many orders. We could throw more orders at you, and you could pull it off. You could digest all those orders and get them out. And that was the idea. How can we increase those numbers to where you're going, gosh, this is ridiculous. I've sent out like 150 orders this today or something, but that you could still pull it off. And so that's where the idea of, okay, let's bring in the auto. It was originally called the auto server, and then we associated it with the robots. Is okay, the robots are serving for you, but they're so quick that it's just in the snap of your finger, eight things are sent out. I watched on one of the streams yesterday. I can't remember if it's Bear Taffy or Northern Lion. Those were the two big ones streaming us yesterday, and one of them was just laughing about how it was, you prep for the stop over across about 60 to 90 seconds, no, not even that long, probably 30 to 60 seconds, and then you roll into the stop, and you can be there for like 4 seconds. Like, it's just like, here's the whole chat just thought people were just getting pretzels, like, shotgunned at them, and it's like, take your pretzel, we're out of here, and they can imagine the food truck peeling off to the next stop basically as soon as they stopped at the first one, and that was really fun to see, because that manicness is definitely what we wanted to implement into this third game in a really cool, enjoyable, oh my gosh, I could take this to the next level kind of way.
I will say, I didn't even think about the mental image of a food truck just pulling up to a stop, the shade opening up, and a robot just shoving pretzels in people's faces until now. That might be the best part of this game. Just the mental image of, as you're preparing the holding stations and just hitting control as many times as you can, and just thinking about these people are getting food just stuffed in their face.
And it's just part of the gameplay for us. But a Twitch channel gets this, and the Twitch chat sees it, and they make up all this. I mean, they just, they piece it, they fill in the gaps themselves, right? They also laugh that you can put together any kind of menu, Rice Krispie treats, falafels, and tacos at this particular, and filet mignon or something like that for this particular.
What was
truck run?
My go-to? It was nuggets, donuts, strips for the holding station, and then cookies, fancy donuts, and then rice balls or something like that. I'm thinking to myself,
I stopped by that food truck.
Yeah,
so I mean,
like, this is the weirdest food truck. It's like southern, like, home foods of, like, just deep fried everything mixed with, like, a flair of the Japanese.
Yeah, and you're probably getting a 5-star or 1-star rating online for that restaurant, depending on if you're able to pull off all those things. Like, because I think the rule is the more things you have on your menu, or the wider variety of things that you have in your menu, the less likely it is to be good. That's like kind of what I've remember from. I'm talking about in real life, of course.
Yeah,
not
of
like
course.
Actual game situation. But yeah, I'm digressing. Anyway.
Yeah, the variety, having variety in Cook Serve Delicious would be, it's almost a detriment because it's more keys that you need to remember.
Right. And I remember the point I was, I guess, trying to make was it would take a lot of work for us to get menus together that made sense all the time like that, like in the food truck situation.
Yeah.
And also it's extremely limiting, like if you don't allow some menu creation. And to be honest, it just kind of adds to the zaniness that is the series and franchise that we've kind of either just shrugged about or leaned in too hard. So people complain. Some people will point out, the people just look depressed all the time. It's like, yeah, well, the world sucks. So, we just, so it's just like, sometimes you lean into things. Sometimes, anybody that's had a problem with the game, it's been really minor, and it almost becomes this running joke that is benign to us. It doesn't hurt the game, or it doesn't hurt for people to say it about the game. It actually almost helps. It's almost, it's not even benign. It's almost helpful that people point out the game's flaws in a funny way. And again, flaws might not be the right word, but it's just, little quirks about it that make it kind of uniquely the Cook Serve Delicious series.
Well, and I have to imagine, too, like, somebody pulling up a video of this and watching somebody play through it and go like, you know what? I can do better than that. Like, it's a game that drives, in a weird way, it drives competition less through, like, a direct leaderboard. Like, you see on the screen, like, so and so got X perfect orders at this stop. It's more of like, okay, I watched this and I can see on the leaderboard like roughly what people are doing. Well, I'm going to do this because I know I can get these 4-star things out faster than 2 of their 2s to generate more money. And just that competition of you can make it as easy as you want to an extent. I mean, obviously there's star requirements for some of the stops, but you could make it as easy as you want. You could have, your holding stations are all 0s, and then you could just have a bunch of 1-stars and just crush orders all day. Or you can go for the money, because everybody loves money, and go for higher, more difficult things, and still have that same competition. Because I remember the first time that I saw CSD 1, the panic of, I forget who was playing it at the time, and they're just like, okay, I gotta just like focus, and then they screwed one thing up. I'm like, I can do better than that. Nope, never got better than that.
Well, I think that's important that's an important note, is that it's, like any good game, it is the challenge that leads you to want to play, kind of into the higher ranks or the deeper stuff. You can, like you said, if it does feel good to smash the lower, to go to Chili Bowl or like Max Wieners and take care of those levels and be perfect on them, it's awesome. But after a while, it's not a challenge anymore to you, and you have to go, well, where else do I seek challenge? And then you realize, oh my gosh, I haven't even gone to this restaurant yet. I haven't even tried these foods, as in like putting together these foods yet.
Yeah, I will say,
I have to learn this whole new, all these new foods again. But then it's like the challenge begins again. And then, like you were mentioning, it's not really, we haven't leaned into like any kind of like competitive stuff between players really hard. On our Discord, on the Cook Serve Delicious Discord, which I encourage anyone listening to join if they're into the game. We have a huge fan base that just loves talking about it. We have all these different channels in the Discord server that may or may not suit you if you're interested. But anyway, that there is a little. It's not really. It's almost like congratulatory. People post when they do some incredible things. They'll screenshot, the hardest day, hardest shift, gold medal, no mistakes, and just to get the like, the appreciation from the rest of the community. Like, wow, like you said, there's a lot of people that will never even like. I don't think I'm a bad player at all. I think I'm pretty good, but at the top levels, you really have to be like not just mistake free, but zen-like in the absolute chaos storm that is being thrown at you. And it is incredible. The highest levels are incredibly difficult. And I know that there have been ways where you can, you can manipulate buzz and such for like on CSD 1 and 2 to make it so that you can get even sort of more customers in the door. This is what I was talking about before, is that a lot of our like top tier players were like trying to max out, how many people they could get through the door and in a day and still not make a mistake. I think CSD 3 is really going to cater to that. Like, it's not a mandatory thing. But those who are looking for that are going to, I think, be really satisfied with 3.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said somebody should do a study, because I just happened to be playing the new Call of Duty right around now, and picked up CSD 3, and I'm like, somebody should do a study of your brain activity, like 2 hours into a Call of Duty session, when I'm just like, no brain power whatsoever is going into this anymore. And then when I turn on CSD, it's like it triggers something in my brain of like, okay, I just need to think. Like, this is the perfect game for breaking up those, Destiny, Call of Duty. Take your pick of just kind of, I'm not going to say boring, but can get to be mindless things.
Yeah. No, mindless. Having a mindless game is not a boring thing. It's very important, right? Like that's a great thing to have, I think. And CSD, it can get frustrating to me because maybe I do want to get in a 2-3 hour session, but it's not possible. Like I after about 45 minutes to an hour, if my focus will start to kind of slip or whatever, and I'll start to make more mistakes. And that's always like the hardest part with the game, like when you're bashing your head against a wall and you realize, oh my gosh, I might not be able to break through this tonight. I might have to sleep on this and just come back tomorrow fresh, and that will be better. And there's a lot of games out there like that. There's another game I'm thinking of that always made me feel like that. Like I would be trying, and the later it got, the worse I was becoming, and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't, I have to at some point, wave the white flag, and just get a full night's sleep and come back fresh on this tomorrow so that I can figure this out. And I think CSD has that somewhat in it, especially on like the levels where you're saying on CSD2, I played a ton of, and there were a lot of levels where you could see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you couldn't quite get there. You'd still make that one mistake, or there's that, you're like, during the second rush, it's going to be really difficult to pull this off and get out of this rush clean, with like a perfect. So yeah, I think it does that. And then it actually is one of those games that keeps you honest. Like you just cannot play it for hours and hours and hours and expect to be, really solid, the whole time.
You would have probably a blood pressure and a heart rate problem if you kept playing CSD for hours and hours. At least I would.
Yeah, and then the other thing half the people say is that at some point the art's going to get to you on the food, so you're going to get hungry, and you're going to go want something. Yeah, I think we have nearly 1,000 foods in 3, so that's and we've added just a ton of international fare. So that's what we're excited about for 3. Well, there's we've been talking this whole time about why we're excited about 3, but that's another thing that we're excited about is that the 2 brought in a lot of new foods, but they were pretty local to America, whereas or if they weren't, they were really well known foods. 3 brings in some really exotic food, so that's really cool. I think it's more of an international game now, which kind of falls in line with our audience. We have a ton of folks that play the game outside of America and outside of English-speaking countries, and we really wanted to cater to them as much as anybody, right? So if they're enjoying the game, obviously we're looking into more localizations and full translations for them if possible. But at the very least, we can start bringing in culture, different cultures into the situation, because there's so much good food out there in the world that, if you're one person and you're not super well traveled, you may not know about.
This seems like a game that would do exceptionally well in Germany, because they love these simulator, they get home from work to get onto a game that is work.
Yeah, that's true. It goes over really well in Asia as well. Germany, I don't know if I can bring up specific anecdotes about, oh yes, this is this is why it's so popular in Germany, but because it does. I know what you mean. It's not quite farming simulator
or truck simulator, or
you're right, or yes, exactly, like ice road trucker simulator or whatever. It's not that, but yeah, it is. We another conversation we have. We'll be going to PAX East late February, which will be our 3rd or 4th PAX for the series. And every time we go, we always run into workers who have done service work or restaurant work who go, "Oh my gosh, this is just like PTSD," and so you definitely get that it does strike a chord with people who have done that kind of work before, but at the same time, some of them are into it. And of course, it's not doing the physical labor of putting together food or prep or anything like that. So it's not like anything physically exhausting or taxing, but there is a mental connection for sure. It's because of the speed and because of the orders and because of the impatience of people that all sort of rings true to reality, I think, for these folks.
Yeah, I think that is a perfect anecdote to wrap up this interview, Eric. And for everyone that wants to check it out, Cook Serve Delicious 3 is on Steam and Good Old Games in early access. And it is... I will say this, if you have any interest in it, just check it out. I mean, it's not $60. You know, like
that's right, AJ. Yeah, it'll be $14.99 for early access, and I think it'll be that price for 1.0 as well. And we're not officially confirmed, but I'm 90% sure we'll be coming out on all three current consoles, as well as PC when we get 1.0, which we're expected in like early summer is what we're kind of targeting right now.
Oh, just join in everybody's current, I guess, flavor of the month and delay until roughly around when the PS5 and Series X would come out.
We were happy to come out with early access in late January, as everybody was like sort of pushing out of that area. We're going, great, we'll have a lot of more, kind of breathing room, because you're right. There were so many games over the last last month that we're on the schedule, and suddenly they weren't anymore, or they were pushed back out of our area.
Yeah, you look at a calendar and it's like, if you looked at a calendar this time last year, you'd be like, Cyberpunk's coming out. Doom was supposed to come out end of 19, but just these amazingly big games that are going to generate buku bucks for their franchises, I'm sure. But at the same breath, it's like, okay, any small team trying to go up against a Cyberpunk or a Doom or somebody that's a big franchise is, you kind of hate to see it, but now that all these are moved, you're like, awesome, it's back to the beginning, like it used to be, where the beginning of the year is all those small games that probably were ready in November, but couldn't launch because that's Call of Duty, or that's, take your pick of a big game franchise, and they had the, first couple months of the year to release and get to be well known, and we're back to that. And it's awesome.
Yeah, you have a pretty keen understanding of how we work as indies. We do not want to compete at all with any of those major games that we know will, suck up most of the press coverage and all that during that. We look at those games as black holes. We do not compete with black holes. So, they suck all the attention away from us, all the sales, all the exposure, all that stuff. So, you're absolutely right, and it has been a difficult last few years because, like you said, it's sort of like release whenever, and it's more or less dodging landmines now as opposed to going, okay, this is a safe time for us. So that's how it will be this year, luckily, but who knows about next year, right? There's no way of knowing.
Yeah. Eric, thank you very much for coming onto this show, and Cook Serve Delicious 3 is out now in early access. And yeah, everyone, go check it out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, AJ, for having me on.
Yep. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special segment of the SWW show. It is me, AJ. I'm here with Andres from A2 Softworks, developers of Gatewalkers, a co-op survival game that is 4 players and looks very, very fun. Andres, how is it going?
Fine, thank you. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you and the audience. So, hello, everyone.
So, Gatewalkers looks very interesting, and it almost to me seems like a mix of like a 4-player real-time XCOM in a way, where you have abilities and you're going around and defeating enemies, but it's also like very fluid, it seems, in the sense that there's no set character classes. Correct?
Yes. As I say, the Gatewalkers is a combination of mixture of two game genres. It's survival for sure, and also the element of action. So the core idea behind the Gatewalkers is to give player the feel that they're traveling to different worlds. In a game, you have a different worlds which have a different unique um, environmental hazards, and the player who is able to play alone or up to four players in cooperative mode, the players need to go to different worlds and survive there. And what is important here is that besides the element of survival, we are also fighting the enemies and the horrific creatures in a more action RPG style. To be honest, I believe that the feel of the gameplay in the game is more like in twin stick shooter or action game. So you are moving with WSDA and you are aiming with your mouse. So the game is very skill based. So it is really important that each spell you need to aim, and also the creatures that you are fighting with also need to aim each spell, so you are able to avoid the spells. Each spell can be missed, and so on. So this is one of the core element of the game where we are mixing these two genres. What is more and what is quite different from the classical action RPGs, where if we are comparing us with games like, I don't know, Diablo, Path of Exile, and so on. So the first one is the controls. It's more action based, and you have a different approach to the progression of the player, because we are taking the progression from the survival games, where the progression is based on the recipes and on the gathering of the resources, and combining the new stuff based on of what you have crafted. So you are crafting weapons, you are crafting armors, and so on, and all the spells that you have available to fight enemies, to survive at different worlds, are based on the gear that you are wearing. So that's the core elements of the Gatewalkers, and this mixture of these two genders, the survival and the action.
That's very interesting that you guys have a system in there where what you have available to you is based on your equipment, your armor, and the such. But it seems like anybody can swap around to swap abilities, to switch abilities to, so you're not set in a character path. Like a traditional, man, I haven't played Diablo in so long. In fact, I haven't even played 3. Where you have a character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually in games like action RPGs, you have a character you are choosing, and you have a class of this character. So all the play style that you can do, how you can fight the enemies, how you are progressing through the game, is based on the class that you have chosen from the beginning. And our approach, I think the different approach is that you can swap your gear, because I don't know, you think this gear is not good enough fighting with these enemies. So now I'm going to go to different worlds, gather different resources, craft a new different item. I will change my ability set so I can fight in different manner with this creature. And therefore we believe that the classless system, where the player is choosing what he is wearing, is better, because during the game you are not bored, or you are not feeling that, okay, I probably could choose a different path, a different class at the beginning, and probably the game would feel for me different, because in classless approach you simply are gathering different stuff, and you can create this new stuff and check, okay, this weapon, for example, bow, is better suiting my playstyle than, for example, staff or the sword. So that's the idea of allowing player to choose the path they want to and when they want to. So you are not blocked. You can always switch to different weapon if you want to, and so on. And what is quite important, I believe, here is that we do not make any assumption about how the person wish to play. For example, because you are what you wear, so all the spells or the stuff that you can do with your abilities are based on the equipment. So you can mix, for example, cloth armor with two-handed sword, or you can mix full staffs or the magical staff with full plate armor and so on. So the build is completely up to the players.
And I bet that system is really nice for people when they just hop in by themselves, because then you can feel like you're effective against everything.
Yeah. Usually, the not each weapon is as well is good for every situation. So you need to always think about uh, because the core loop of the game is that you are searching for different worlds based on your needs, based on the storyline, how far you are in the progress of storyline, and you are looking for different worlds with different sets of environmental hazards, environment, creatures, or bosses. And you need to prepare yourself. So you are gathering the resources, crafting appropriate tools, appropriate weapons to be able to survive in this new world. So simply not each weapon is or each element of your equipment is equally good for each world or for each boss that you are going to fight against.
Yeah, I really like that idea. On I guess in a way, a completely different note. What is it like now that CD Projekt Red has seen so much widespread success? What is the game world like in Poland?
The games in Poland are quite okay right now, and of course the CD Projekt Red is the biggest, I believe, developer in Poland, and of course it also helps the smaller developers to be more recognizable in the world because almost everyone heard about CD Projekt Reds and about the Witcher, and now everyone are waiting for Cyberpunk, I believe, or at least the most of the players are knowing what Cyberpunk is going to be. So that gives us quite opportunity to be noticed by the wider audience because people are thinking, okay, we know that the games are made in Poland also, so who others are working in Poland and what types of games are they developing right now. So of course it helps us. Also, it's worth noticing that also are different companies that are quite successful from the Poland, like Techland also is quite a huge developer in Poland. So yeah, that's I think that helps the indie developers like we are the smaller companies to also be noticed at the world.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a situation of a rising tide lifts all ships, where the success of the way that the CD Projekt has gathered a name and exposed to the world to Polish developers is helping everyone. It's helping small people. It's helping the mid-size, where for instance, probably the audience was just mainly European before, but now everybody's looking to developers from Poland that are like they're now known. There's word of them because of the success of a large studio like CD Projekt, and yeah, it just seems very good that for a country that's so large, for there to be really only like if you say, hey, do you know anybody? Do you know a games company from Poland? There's only one, but it seems to be that there's you know it's lifting other people up to a position where probably in the next few years there's going to be many well-known people from Poland making games.
Yeah, I believe so. And also, it's worth notice that in Polish game industry. There's a lot of indie developers who are working on really interesting projects. So I believe that always it's really great with one company. It's really huge and taking and giving a great world about how we can do games in Poland. But of course, we need to remember that there are more different studios, smaller studios, which I believe will also be much more well known in the future, because I believe that in Poland the game development is rising up, so it's becoming more and more popular in the world.
I'm also very curious because from all reports, it seemed like he was all over the news. Do you know the name Robert Kubica?
Yeah,
The
of
the
course.
F1 driver. Okay. I was kind of curious because I am a huge Formula One fan, and his resurgence was always like this mystical thing of, you know, will he make it back? Will he make it back? And just the idea that from everything that I heard, he kind of controlled the news. Like his name was always in the news in terms of, you know, Poland's only F1 driver and the people getting behind them.
Yes. It's quite huge because this guy has done quite a huge thing, because in Poland, F1 sport is not as known as for example football or soccer, because in Poland usually people are watching soccer and so on. But F1, when the Kubica started to racing, everyone has known that okay, it's our guy, so we were watching it. And I believe that a lot of people were watching this stuff. And when this terrible accident happened, everyone was thinking that probably it will be the end of his career. But as we see right now, he's getting back. He's getting really well right now, and we hope that he will show everyone else that it's possible to come back from even such a terrible accident that he had. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's quite great. That it's great story, success story, I believe, of him, and I think that everyone in Poland are really keeping finger crossed to see his racing again as good as before this.
yeah. His story is one of just incredible resilience, and I recommend anyone that's mildly interested after hearing this little discussion go check it out, because he had the potential to uh, change the image of racing in Poland forever. Back before he had a nasty crash. That being said, Gatewalkers, you have an alpha launch coming up in March, and how can people uh, get into, or the possibility of getting into, the alpha?
Yes, we are going to make an alpha test, the short alpha tests at the end of the and it will be starting from 26th of March till 29th of March, and we are really happy that we can show this small vertical slice or small demo of the game and see the feedback from the real players, and we are welcoming everyone to try to join to the alpha. Of course, we are not sure if everyone will be able to get a key, but in order to try to get a key, we welcome you to sign to our newsletter. It's available when you are entering the homepage of the game Gatewalkers. It's www.gatewalkers.com. So if anyone is interested, just come to our webpage, sign in to the newsletter, and all the stuff that you need to know in order to apply for the alpha key will be sent to you by email somewhere in the March, because it's still a little bit early to tell you how we will do it, how we will send in the keys. But I believe that in March we will send the information to all people who are interested.
I'm really surprised you guys got Gatewalkers.com, that there wasn't something that had that.
It's quite curious, but yes, it was free, it was available. So to be honest, when we are thinking about the title, which will gives us the opportunity to tell the players with a short title what the game is about, and the game is about traveling through the gates in order to explore different worlds. So the title Gatewalkers thing is quite reasonable, and we were really happy that we saw that this domain is still free. So yeah, it was quite amazing.
All right. So that Andres, I'll tell you what. This has been very fun talking with you. We will definitely for sure have all of A2's socials and links to sign up for the alpha in the description of the podcast, and also when on Twitter when we release the episode. And man, it's just been a great time talking to you.
Thank you very much, and it was pleasure. And if you can send me information when this episode will be ready, to just email, it will be really great.
For sure, we'll shoot you guys something when this goes up. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very
talking about Gatewalkers.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
This podcast was a product of the SWW Show. You can find more at the SWWshow.com or Facebook.com/the SWW Store or Twitter.com/SWW. You can find out more about Mike at Mikey_Maroney on Twitter, and more about AJ at LoCBor on Twitter. Remember, new episodes come out twice a month, one focusing on the new entertainment news and one focusing on movie club, so the new and an old movie. You can find out more again at the SWWshow.com, and you can find the show on podcast services around the globe.